regular are probably used to a different face here. Nicola, he's a little unwell today, so I'm taking the meditation session today. And today's topic is gratitude. So this is part of, for those of you who have not joined before, we are doing a series of 16 sessions on the 16 guidelines. And these guidelines were kind of drafted by a 7th century Tibetan king as kind of just an ethical code to follow, not associated to, any religion, not, we don't have to associate, when we think of these 16 guidelines, we don't have to think, oh, the Buddhist 16 guidelines. We can think these are 16 guidelines of ethical conduct, of well-being, of happiness, similar to how a doctor might prescribe you certain suggestions of your diet, having a protein-heavy diet or having a good balance of nutrients, and they'll give you some guidelines for your physical health. So similarly, these are guidelines for our mental health, which often we fail to take care of as instinctively and impulsively as our bodily health. But our mental health is as important, if not more important, than our bodily health, because the body will deteriorate and die, but the mind will continue. The mind stream will continue after this body is gone. So we have already done 10 of these guidelines, and today the topic we are doing is gratitude. So we're going to explore this topic through a little meditation, a little discussion. Before we start, we will just set some motivation, short motivation for being here today, whether we're gathered on Zoom or in person. It's a weekday evening, and we've all taken the time out of our busy schedules to join the session, to learn to take care of our minds, to learn how we can take care of our minds. And so we can just take a moment to appreciate that and to strengthen that motivation, to strengthen that intention, that seed that's already there. This intention that wants to develop our minds, that wants to expand our mind and our hearts in order to benefit not just ourselves, but also all those around us, everybody we interact with on a daily basis. Friends, family, relationships, strangers. Just imagine how many people we can benefit if our own minds are in a positive, happy, open state every moment of the day. And if we don't train in this practice, if we don't cultivate the good qualities, the virtues of our mind, then think about how many lives we can touch negatively as well. We can also cause unhappiness as easily. And that's a choice that we have to make for ourselves each and every day, each and every moment. So with this intention that we've set, we can start by settling our bodies into a comfortable posture and just bringing our mind into the present moment. We can take about 10 minutes to bring our minds to the present, practice calm abiding meditation, so that we can prepare our minds to absorb the teachings better, to go into an analytical meditation later. So just take a moment to adjust yourself wherever you're seated into a comfortable posture. If you're on a chair, your feet can be flat on the floor. And if you're on a cushion, you can bring your hips towards the edge of the cushion so that your spine straightens up and your knees fall below the hips. You can roll your shoulders back, not arching your spine, but just keeping it straight. Then relaxing the shoulders, opening the chest, tilting your neck downwards slightly so that the neck elongates at the back, creating a perfectly straight line from the base of your spine to the top of your head. Your hands are resting in your lap or on your knees, either in the meditation mudra or wherever, however your hands feel comfortable. And your eyes are gently closed or just cracked open if it feels comfortable to let some light in. Staying connected with the world around you, but not looking at anything in particular. Just a blank gaze. And finally, I like to put a little smile on my face and allow all those facial muscles to just relax. All the tension held between the eyebrows and the cheekbones and the jaw. And if you like, you can take 3 longer conscious breaths just to get a sense of the flow of your breath in the body, the sensations. Focusing your attention either at your abdomen as it rises and falls, or at the very tip of your nose and observing the sensations there. Once you complete 3 breaths, allowing your breath to just return to its natural flow. And becoming an observer. Becoming almost invisible to your breath. And just gently, curiously watching it. Your awareness is very gentle, not tight, not anxious or stressed, the way that we normally carry about our day. We leave all of those attitudes behind and just allow a gentleness to be there in our awareness. And if you find your attention wandering away from the breath, just very gently bringing it back as if it's a small child running here and there. With compassion, bringing it back, returning back to the flow of your breath, which is always there. Becoming present to your breath's natural flow. You can gently open your eyes and come back to the space that you're in. And take a moment to just stretch your legs and become comfortable again if you were uncomfortable in the meditation. And I hope you're all feeling a little more grounded and present after what might be a long day at work or a long day doing errands and being busy. Yeah, so it's very easy to bring the same attitudes that we have throughout the day of, those same attitudes we have at work of uh, having to do this, ABC, and it has to be done a certain way, and it has to be done by a certain time. And the stress that we carry with us through our days, the responsibilities, the commitments, it's very easy to carry those same mental energies and attitudes into our meditation practice. So it's important to kind of notice that in our minds as we meditate, that we're not carrying those same tendencies, the same work ethics or workaholics, as they call it, that attitude into our practice. Our practice should be very gentle, very open and soft. And there's really no right or wrong, this dualism that we live our lives by. That doesn't exist in our practice. So we should be mindful of kind of letting go of that when we practice. So today's topic, as I mentioned, is gratitude. Are there any first thoughts that people have about gratitude? And I will allow those on Zoom to also unmute themselves. Any images, any words that first come to your mind when you think of gratitude? Might even be an example from your daily life. Anyone on Zoom is welcome to also chime in. No first thoughts on gratitude? Okay, then we have a lot to learn today. So I'm going to read a few lines on gratitude, a few verses, and just take a minute to, you can close your eyes if you want, and just listen to these lines and reflect on them. And then I'll ask you to share again what your reflections are based on these verses. So allow yourself to get a little comfortable and just receive the words and see how it impacts you, see what it does to your mind. Gratitude celebrates our connections with other beings and our capacity to offer mutual support. It forms an openness and generosity that strengthens relationships and heals tension. Gratitude calls us to strip away unnecessary complexities and to be simple and natural with each other. It brings peace and harmony. It is grounded in the wisdom which accepts that as we are neither independent nor self-sufficient, but part of an extraordinary continuum of events and beings on this planet. Gratitude encourages us to welcome reality rather than to fight it, both what seems good and what seems bad. Learning to appreciate every single thing that happens, no matter if it's good or bad, as a potential source of insight and growth. Having a grateful heart can give us a positive outlook in life, and it has a direct connection to improved mental health, stronger relationships, and resilience. In order to just say thank you, to reassure another person, and acknowledge that they have the capacity to contribute to our well-being. Gratitude helps us overlook what someone has done for us, is a form of rejection. If we were to overlook what someone has done for us, it would be a form of rejection or even humiliation to the other person. When we acknowledge and appreciate the efforts that others have put in for us, we are building truer and better relationships. It also translates to a sense of responsibility and reciprocating efforts for each other. Expressing gratitude can sometimes be painful. It can sometimes be layered in other emotions. It may not stand alone. But by turning us outwards, gratitude shifts our focus from what we lack or strive towards and to what we already have, and opens our eyes to the bounty that is life. So take a moment to just reflect for yourselves based on these verses and based on your own experience with gratitude. These verses won't mean anything if we don't relate it to our own personal experience. So now I'd like to hear from others what your experiences of gratitude are, what your thoughts are. What are the times when it's easy, and what are the times when it's challenging to practice gratitude? Anyone here at the center first?
Well, I would say
You can use the mic. Is it on?
lights on.
Okay.
So gratitude's been very central to my practice over many years, and what's improved over time, I think, is becoming grateful for whatever comes up. And so as a young person, I was always very grateful when I was in the mountains and the trees, and when nice things happen and life goes well, I've been easily grateful. But as time's gone on, I've started to realize that I don't really understand where things are coming from or what my relationship to them is. And now in later life, I look back at a lot of things which at the time I thought were very bad. And I realize now they were the things that shaped me and made me, and have eventually brought good things to me and good things to the world, which at the time I thought were bad things. So yeah, essentially that one of the verses did talk about accepting the good and the bad with a grateful heart. And I think that has, over the years, has become a lot easier. And I was just talking to my son about this the other day, because he's back in an era when he's more resentful of the difficult challenges of life. I was able to share that, looking back, a lot of those challenges are the things that now I am really grateful for.
Yeah. Thank you, Pierre. You're Pierre?
Peter.
PJ.
But Pierre is fine.
Yeah.
Pedro, actually.
Yeah, so Pierre's, you're sharing, like, maybe before there used to be a time when only certain things would inspire gratitude. Maybe sometimes we feel like there are certain moments or certain things that very easily generate gratitude in us. And maybe other times we don't have gratitude. But now as you look back on your life, it might be very different times when you're maybe even the opposite, where you experience the least gratitude. Now you have a lot of gratitude.
That's true. It's not just looking back. It's not
Yeah.
just now.
Yeah.
Almost immediately grateful.
Yeah, even in the present. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Any thoughts on Zoom? Any thoughts, any personal experiences? Even personal experiences can really help others also learn.
Could I say something? Can you
Yeah,
hear me?
please. Yes, I
Okay.
can hear you.
Hi. Hi. I wanted to start by saying that I must have a very strong negativity bias, I think. And I used to
Negativity
find,
bias, you said.
yeah, as a person, perhaps, because I didn't focus enough on what I had. And so, gratitude, I mean, small things was easy, but gratitude for the big things, I never focused enough on it really. So, accepting Buddhism helped me a lot because in this practice, I sort of tried to shift my perspective a little bit. And I found there was a lot for me to be grateful for, but it's still like, I keep that in mind, but again, my mind goes to what I lack. So that's something to deal with, I think. So I've actually made it a practice every morning when I wake up to think of 3 things that I'm grateful for, or at least at night. And that seems to help. That seems to help.
Yeah, that's very beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, because our minds are trained from the moment we're born to think in a certain way, to in that lack mentality. Yeah, we learn that lack mentality. And so the same training that we got from infancy, we have to train our minds out of it also. So this gratitude journal you mentioned is a very beautiful way of training. It's a kind of, practice. So
Yeah.
yeah, thank you for sharing that suggestion also that we can take away with us. Yeah. Yeah, anyone else want to share any thoughts or experiences? Even an example? I'd like to hear maybe one example of some time when it was very easy to practice gratitude and another where it was very, very challenging. Anyone want to share?
I think if I may come back, since
Yeah,
no one else
please.
seems to be speaking,
Please.
there was an important incident in my life. There was a difference between me and my mother about who I wanted to marry. It was a big decision, big life decision. And we were kind of pitted against each other. And finally, when she gave in, and then anyway, my marriage did work out. I've been married for 50 years, happily. I saw it more as a victory, for myself. Oh, okay, now mommy's understood finally, rather than thinking, God, am I lucky that, I could take my parents with me and they supported my marriage and accepted my husband and all these things. So I think it's also one's attitude. Over time, it made me realize that was so stupid of me to look at it as some kind of battle. It wasn't. Everybody wanted the best for me.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think thank you for sharing your personal experience. And I think each of us, this can be something we can do on our own time, just to go back to a moment when it was really difficult to practice gratitude and see what were the obstacles there to gratitude. What are those obstacles? And try to, letter them for ourselves. And it'll be different for each of us. We all have our own obstacles. But I think that can help us to see what those blocks are and then overcome those. Yeah, thank you all for sharing. And we can have a little more sharing at the end. I want to now guide us through a meditation on gratitude. Um, meditation is the way that we can go deeper into these thoughts, deeper into uh, our reflection in a way that maybe our thinking mind, our normal thinking mind, can't access those registers. But when we sit in meditation, then it allows us to go into deeper layers of the mind. And because we already have practiced shamatha, which is calm abiding, which brings our mind into focus, it's now hopefully a little more primed to go deeper into an analytical meditation. So maybe if you want to get a little water or a stretch before we start the meditation, it'll be about 15 or 20 minutes, probably closer to 20 minutes. And you're welcome to adjust your posture during a meditation. Don't never feel like you have to sit perfectly still as a statue. I think Thich Nhat Hanh says, during meditation, it's like when a bird is in flight, the bird might have their wings spread out, but it'll keep adjusting its feathers very gently, or adjusting the position of its wings to the wind in order to guide itself. So similar to a bird, we can keep adjusting very gently our body and our posture as needed. So once you feel ready, you can come back to your sitting position, a comfortable position with your spine straight, your neck tilted slightly downwards, your shoulders and your arms relaxed. All the facial muscles relaxed. And your eyes gently closed or slightly cracked open. Now we can take 3 conscious deep breaths again, just to come back to our center, allowing your mind to rest on the breath, just feeling the sensations. Now I invite you to reflect on some questions. What is gratitude to you? Is feeling grateful a duty or a pleasure? What allows some people to appear more grateful and appreciative than others? Does being grateful depend on being fortunate, such as having received a gift or some material pleasure or enjoying a special occasion? Or can one be grateful even in life's most difficult circumstances? Is gratitude something that arises spontaneously, or is it an emotion that can be intentionally cultivated? Reflect for a moment on the link between gratitude and happiness. The 16 guidelines define gratitude as the ability to acknowledge and repay the kindness of others. Sometimes this can be a straightforward practice to acknowledge another person, such as when they encourage us or give us good advice. At other times, gratitude may involve making an effort, may involve having to recognize how much we depend on others, that neither our homes, nor our jobs, nor the food we eat, or even our bodies could exist without this external input and support. The poet John Donne has said, "No man is an island." From this perspective, gratitude is something very natural and logical, and rooted in our interdependence with other living creatures and the environment. Now, I invite you to bring to mind somebody in your life who regularly practices or expresses gratitude and appreciation. Bring them to mind with all their different qualities. Is this person in a good situation right now? Or are they making the most of a difficult situation? Does their ability to be grateful affect the way they live their lives? Does this person inspire you to become more grateful? Being grateful doesn't cost anything. It's something we can do in any place, anytime, even in challenging situations. But we often miss these opportunities to be grateful because we don't take time to stop, to look around us, to listen to others. So I invite you to engage in an exercise to help us practice this. Start by opening your eyes gently and letting them settle on something that you're wearing. It might be a piece of clothing or an accessory. Choose one object and examine it as carefully as you can, as if you were seeing it for the first time. Try to notice every aspect of this object. Why you're wearing it. How did you get it? Does it have a practical purpose or is it for pleasure? Maybe both. And now consider the people who were involved in creating this object, taking each of its parts in turn. Think about the people who made it, the people who taught those people how to make it. Their families, their parents, their children. Think about each part that makes up this object, whether it's the threads of cotton or the different parts of a piece of electronic, a watch. Try to trace your mind back through the process that this object took to reach your body. It reached the shop where you bought it. And before that, it got transported to that shop by road or by ship or plane. Before that, it came from different factories, all the different pieces that were put together to put it together. And all the different kinds of people that it took. Somebody specializing in design, somebody in the weaving, somebody in the technology or mechanical engineering. And then you can go even further back to the people who acquired those raw materials, the farmers or the miners. Allow your imagination to run through all these connections and allow your mind to touch all the different people who have enabled you to wear and use this object today. Is it possible to feel some gratitude and appreciation to these people? Now visualize in your mind an object from the natural world, either a flower or an animal. And try to do the same process, tracing that object back in time to all the elements, all the causes and conditions that allowed this flower or the tree or the animal to arise as it is. And all of the elements and causes and conditions that continue to allow that creature to live and to survive. If a human being were to just pluck that flower right now, its life would be over. If there were no rains for the next 3 months, the flower wouldn't survive. If there were no sunlight, it couldn't survive. Imagine if all of these causes and conditions didn't exist. If there were no natural life. If there were nothing to support our living and our well-being. Then we wouldn't be here today. Allow a natural sense of gratitude to arise as you think about all the causes and conditions that allow not only us, but each and everything around us to exist and to exist together. Is there a natural feeling of gratitude and appreciation towards this planet that sustains us? If you found this exercise helpful, you might make a habit of it. Whenever you have a spare moment, allowing your eyes to just rest on any object and reflect on all the different people and processes that helped cause it to arise. And you might find that you can keep tracing it back and back and back. And outward and outward and outward. The poet William Blake spoke about our precious capacity to see a world in a grain of sand and heaven in a wildflower, to hold infinity in the palm of our hand and eternity in an hour. the more that we can choose to acknowledge our interdependence with other living creatures, the more we will be able to taste this nourishing and transformative power of gratitude. And we can bring this practice to a close by dedicating the practice and the merits of being here. That gratitude can enrich your life and the lives of those around you. That the quality of gratitude can continue to grow and expand in your mind, so that it can arise in any kind of situation, even the most difficult situations. Even if it just arises for a split moment, we can continue to nourish the seed of gratitude in us at any moment of any day. And may our own practice, our active practice of gratitude, also inspire others to cultivate the same emotion, the same quality. And may our awareness of our interdependence also arise and continue to expand. May our practice benefit all sentient beings so that all beings can be liberated from cyclic existence and suffering. And we can dedicate all the positive energy of being here today for this hour to those who are ill, those who are hungry or thirsty, those who live in difficult conditions, living or working conditions, or those who live in conflicts, in war zone, or are harmed by violence. We can dedicate to those who face loneliness, disharmony, financial difficulties, and dedicate to their worries being ended and their happiness being increased. How wonderful would it be if everyone on this planet and beyond, all living sentient creatures, were to reach their full potential? So you can gently open your eyes, and as you do so, trying to maintain the thread of your meditation, of your thoughts, as you return to your day-to-day life, trying to keep the connection between your meditation cushion and the rest of the world around you. Thank you all for joining. And unless anyone has any closing thoughts, then we can close. Thank you. And just to also share that Tushita runs entirely on donations and on the generosity of others. And Tushita is very grateful, speaking of gratitude, to all of our donors, our very kind donors, and our landlady who gives us this property at a very discounted rate to have this beautiful space here. Yeah, so we always welcome donations. For those of you at the center, there's a box at the back. And for those of you online, if you visit our website, tushitadelhi.com, there's a page where you can always make an offering to support the center. So thank you everyone on Zoom. Have a good evening.